Hi, I'm Mike Elliott, and you're watching CEO Roadshow. Today, we're joined by Mr. Lior Tal. He's the chairman and CEO of Cyngn, a developer of innovative, autonomous driving software solutions for industrial and commercial applications. Their stock trades on the NASDAQ under the ticker CYN. Good afternoon, Lior, and welcome to the show.
Hi, Mike. It's great being here.
To start off, for new investors, give us a quick overview of your background and what Cyngn does.
Of course, Cyngn is a self-driving company. Our focus is on industrial and commercial uses of self-driving, everything under the industrial umbrella. We've been working on developing the system since 2016 and took the company public in 2021 when we were ready to start commercializing it and taking it to the market. Myself, I grew up in Israel. I moved to California in 2021 after Facebook acquired my previous company. Worked at Facebook for about 6 years after that, and then joined Cyngn in 2016 and have been running it ever since. I'm a lawyer in my background, studied law and business, and I've been building and scaling technology companies pretty much consistently since 1999.
Okay, great. And Lior, when people think about autonomous vehicles, they generally think about self-driving cars. How big is the market potential for industrial AVs, and what are the potential benefits for your customers?
It's a great question. The way to start thinking about the market for autonomous driving in industrial applications is really understanding that vehicles are the backbone of pretty much every major industry. You see those at the airport moving things to and from the planes. You see them in container ports, in mining, construction sites, inside any one of 50,000 warehouses, in a heterogeneous setup where you have multiple types of vehicles. Now, if you multiply these millions of vehicles out there driving, moving things in the industrial world by usually an average of two shifts of operators or drivers, you end up with millions of operators for these vehicles. If you do the math, each of these applications, whether it's moving things inside a manufacturing warehouse or inside a mine or inside a port, there are hundreds of billions of dollars of cost of labor per year, which converts to the opportunity for license for alternative autonomous systems. So in aggregate, these are hundreds of billions of potential revenues under the industrial umbrella.
Okay, great. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I think what's really interesting is your technology enables commercial enterprises to retrofit their existing fleet to become autonomous. How are you able to do that, and how much money will it save companies on average?
You know, one of the things that make it very difficult when you want to build an autonomous driving system is not knowing which vehicle you're going to have to deploy. This is why, if you look, pretty much all of the industrial automation companies are what you can think of as vertically integrated. They have their robots and they have their software on top of it. And if you're a customer, doesn't matter how your current setup is, you need to throw away everything you have, buy these robots in order to use those solutions. And many of these organizations, they already have hundreds of vehicles operating their facilities. So it's a big investment. These vehicles have long lifespan, usually of multiple years. So when we started developing the system, we thought about this more from a layered perspective, where if the customer can choose the vehicle they want to work with, maybe because they prefer the OEM or the service network or the financing opportunities, or already have those vehicles. And on top of it, get the best driving software and the best business applications that allow them to control that fleet, then their solution is really going to be the best they can ask for across all these different dimensions. So what we develop is that software layer and data services layer that is separated from the specific vehicle. Now, fast forward, now that we're taking it into the market, we have a huge competitive advantage because we can go to a customer and allow them to keep their vehicles and gradually convert each of these vehicles to autonomous solution and redeploy it into the operation and the workflow, allowing them to really save money and be very effective and not losing a beat in automating their operation. And at some point in the future, if they want to upgrade to new vehicles, maybe they had some traditional vehicle, they want to convert it to an electric vehicle, then our solution can come off the line with that vehicle from the OEM. It has the potential of saving them a lot of money on that hardware. And us being agnostic, we make money from the license to our solution. So we can support however the organization wants to treat the hardware.
Okay, great. And are there any particular sectors, industries, or vehicle types that you're focused on right now?
When we developed the system, we specifically decided to go for the most complicated environments as we develop, test, pilot, deploy it to make sure that when we actually want to commercialize it, our system has already seen more complicated situation, was hardened, was proven in very difficult setups. And then we know with high confidence that it is going to perform at very high grade at the commercial environment. So we developed the system using SUVs in the streets of California. We deployed shuttle buses at corporate campuses up in Toronto. Now, as we're looking into warehouses that are sheltered from the elements, we're looking at slow-moving vehicles. Vehicles inside a warehouse move at 5 miles per hour, where we're driving these vehicles at 50. Then we know with absolute confidence that they can do the job as good as a human driver. But when you think about commercializing the application, the factor that really come into consideration is what are the simpler use cases with very ubiquitous applications that show up in many of the warehouses. Start with those because these are lower hanging fruits. You can commercialize them, scale them, deploy them much faster. And there is then a path between that to more complicated applications all the way up to the open roads, which might come in later years. So at the moment, the focus is really taking these simpler applications inside warehouses with the stock chasers in North America into the hands of commercial customers, and then from time to time reevaluate other interesting opportunities in moving up to more complicated use cases.
Okay, great. And how many customers do you have? And what is your customer acquisition strategy?
So we haven't disclosed details about customers or revenues or number of vehicles, but one way to think about our path from the IPO to commercial success or scaled deployments, 2022 was really focused on three main things. One is establishing the ecosystem of partnerships with the OEMs, with the vehicle manufacturers that allow us to remain a very leveraged data and software company. And together, their hardware, their vehicles with our software at the hands of the end customers really creates a very attractive solution for the customer, but allows us not to need to build things that others have built successfully. Second thing is post-COVID, we needed to staff up the team. We hired quite a few people. We doubled the size of the team since the end of last year. This is what really allows us to move fast, to be aggressive, and to deliver these solutions to the customers as fast as possible. And the third one was doing a full end-to-end deployment, selling the solution, bringing up it inside the customer side, training them to use it, handing it over, and then supporting them remotely. The original plan was to do one of those in 2022. We ended up doing a handful across different environments inside warehouses in the US. And that really prepared us for the next phase, which is really bringing up a sales team and started deploying those commercially. The first sale we announced with US Continental that is starting to operate in Q1 out of their facility in California. And then 2023 is really replicating that with more customers, larger customer sites and larger customer fleets.
Okay, great. Thanks, Lior. And last question is what is your business model? How do you generate revenue? Is it from licensing the software or selling and maintaining the fleets that you retrofit?
These customers are buying these vehicles. They're buying them from the vehicle manufacturers of their choice. Often these vehicle manufacturers would have financing options. They can lease it, or they bring third party into that. Our revenue comes from the layer above it. What we are getting paid is either augmenting their workforce by adding another shift, or increasing productivity, or replacing a workforce. And by that, being able to tap into what otherwise the customer had to pay that workforce for the human labor. Our revenue source is from licensing or subscribing to the solution. And again, the financing of the hardware happens on the side. It can come together with the OEM, it can come separately. Our recurring revenue is similar to a SaaS model, and if bundled together with the vehicle, it can be a RaaS model, robotic as a service.
Okay, great. Well, Lior, that is all the questions we had for today. What else should investors know about Cyngn, and why is now a great time to invest in the company?
One thing that has become very clear in recent years, and you've seen it with companies like Argo AI and TuSimple and Embark, is that the path to commercializing self-driving on open roads is very, very long. It takes huge investments. It keeps prolonging. The closer they get, the further it gets away. Everything in our industrial and commercial focus is simpler. It's slower. It's more structured. There's more discipline in that environment. It's less regulated. So the path to taking the technology and commercializing and scaling it up and building, independent businesses that generate a high degree of high margin revenues is immediate. It's now. It's happening these days. It's not something that we'll have to wait years and years to get there. So, while we are using the same family of technologies that you would see on a Tesla or passenger vehicles or trucks on the highway, we're deploying them into a much more practical and realistic commercial environment. And this is why we're starting to generate revenues these days, and they're going to go up. So, 2023 is just around the corner. Pay attention to deployments, announcements on revenues, growth of the team with key personnel around the sales and the business operation and scale up of the commercial team. And really, anyone that likes to see more of this, we have a lot of material on the website, and we're always happy to host people in our Menlo Park, in our Silicon Valley facility. We can do demos if people come on site. We can do virtual demos to investors that are coming in remote, because really seeing is believing.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, some great videos and great material on the website for sure, as far as just seeing how this technology works in action. Lior, thanks for joining us, and we're going to see you again next week, I believe, for your first investor webinar. So for those watching, please register for that at CEORoadshow.com and join us for a live webinar followed by Q&A with Mr.Tal. And with that, sir, thank you so much for your time, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you. All right, take care. Everyone, again, we've been talking to Mr. Lior Tal. He's the chairman and CEO of Cyngn. They're a developer of innovative autonomous driving software solutions for industrial and commercial applications. Their stock trades on the NASDAQ on the ticker CYN, so add them to your radar. And thank you again for watching CEO Roadshow.